Sick of how weed makes you feel, yet you still keep going back to it like an ex-lover? The only reason you keep doing something that makes you feel sick is because you're not yet able to meet that subconscious need for yourself. Let's face it, if an ex-lover wasn't good for you, but you keep returning back to it, there's some kind of internal dilemma that you have. It could be anything. It could be a lack of self-love, a lack of self-respect. You may not feel like you could do better. You may not feel like you're able to achieve something outside of what you've normally had. Consciously, you say you want to quit this relationship that you have with marijuana. But let's face it, if you were capable of doing this, you wouldn't keep returning to marijuana like you have been. Your nervous system is actually hardwired to have this problem. That's why you have this internal dilemma of where you have sobriety and you've quit and you're trying to distance yourself. But yet at the same flip of the coin, you find yourself later on when things maybe get difficult, convincing yourself that, hey, you know what? What's the harm in just smoking a little bit? It's almost as if these rose-colored glasses came down and your perception of that ex-lover is a lot better than it actually is. You may perceive them as changed. You may think that the way that you felt prior around marijuana won't necessarily be the same as it is today. Some people have even gone as far to justify that, hey, if I'm sober Monday through Friday, I can actually smoke on the weekends and it'll be fine. But what a lot of people find is when they do that, they actually peak because of the dopamine surge that you'll get from the feel-good symptoms of smoking cannabis. But what comes up in excess also has to come down in excess. And then they find themselves agitated, depressed, full of anxiety, or other uncomfortable emotions that are not associated with feeling good, like dopamine increasing is. So then you crash Monday through Friday, and your job seems a little bit more agitating than normal. Or you come home and you just have this general sense of depression and just life is not that great. So really, that's just one of the many things that keep you addicted to justifying it. It's subconsciously wired into your system because if you could quit, I'm sure you would have done it already because you've probably done it many times before. You've tried deep breathing exercises. Maybe you've meditated, gone to yoga classes, tried to stay busy and active. But let's face it, you can't necessarily do yoga while you're at work. You can't necessarily sit down and meditate when you're going through some difficult conversations in your personal relationships. You can't, journal when you're out there dealing with the stressors of life, whether it's driving in traffic or whatnot. So really these Band-Aid type solutions that you have probably tried before really are just that. You realize on some level that it does assist you in keeping sober, but you still have these internal thoughts, feelings, and even images or these memories of the good old days of smoking, and it's almost pulling you back to those same habits that you don't necessarily say that you want to have. But again, your central nervous system is addicted to it. It wants it. And if you're not super mindful and super careful, you end up going back and relapsing because your conscious mind and your subconscious mind are not at all in alignment. And the subconscious mind is basically the fundamentals of who you're going to be. And then your conscious mind is where you do more of your thinking or creating an exit strategy to your own sobriety. Yet here you are going back to the blueprint of your subconscious mind and picking up that habit again like an ex-lover. What your life and mental health is going to be like in the next 10 to 15 years is really going to be dependent on the internal work that you do on your own issues. If you've quit something and you pick it back up and then you quit it again, at some point you have to accept that you have a problem, and that if you haven't been able to solve it, then why not seek help? Because even that in itself can seem like it's not worth it. I've tried other things. I've done the meditation. I've done the yoga, and nothing seems to stick. And again, if any feeling that you have of I'm finally quitting, I'm over it, and you can run from that resource, that you can pull from that drive, that's a feeling. But occasionally it just starts to dwindle down because you don't have the subconscious need met. And so you return back to your original issue. So until you deal with that, that's all this cycle is going to be. And it's just a back and forth infinity loop in a sense. And it's very uncomfortable. And a lot of people go far too long in that realm before they actually reach out and say, hey, you know what? Not only do I have a problem, but I need help because I haven't been able to figure it out on my own. And that might be a path that you personally need to try out for yourself. Because, when you go through something for yourself, there's really no need for anybody else to convince you that maybe what you're doing isn't working. I could tell you all day that you can try all those things. I know many people that have tried it, and I've tried things in my own ways as well. And until I was at that point of saying, you know what I've been doing isn't working. The new research that I'm trying to figure out to solve my issue is not working. I need to reach out and get help at this point because I'm just going to continue wasting my own time on really achieving the things that I want to achieve in life. So what's going to happen to you if you don't break this system? If you don't break the addiction that you have to that aspect that you're not able to achieve on your own at this point in time? Because weed is meeting a need. Going back to that addiction is meeting a need, or else you wouldn't feel the need to return to it. At the same time, sobriety does that for you as well. And you wouldn't feel the need to return to it if marijuana didn't have some kind of downside to it. So whenever you're ready to actually change this on a subconscious level and finally be done with it and not have to go back to this old cycle that you're used to, hit me up. I got a Calendly link, and I also can be reached via Messenger. Take care of yourself.